as part of that project, I also ended up gathering a huge like archive of quotes about failure that kind of point to, your failures are actually a part of success. I didn't fail. I just tried something that didn't work. Now I know what to do, adjust for next time. Hi, I'm Amy Letts. I'm the creator of Epic Fail and organizer of Caption Comics Festival UK. You can find me at www.comicofepicfail.com and social media, usually at Amy Letts Art. And you're watching and listening to Two Geeks Talking.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Two Geeks Talking is an entertainment industry interview show where we interview the creative people from the comic, film, TV, movie, and video game industries. And of course, I'm your host, Kurt Sassa. This is a new introduction for this particular guest because the last time she was on the show was 14 years ago. We're talking 2009, 2010 of, back in the day, TGT webcomics. She's the creator of Epic Fail. She's been a longtime friend of the show. She even has a comic in Webcomics What's Cooking, which was created way back when. She is now the organizer of Caption UK, a small press indie comics festival. Amy Letts, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing good. It has been far, far too long. I feel like I'm bringing back the greatest hits of the show with these amazing guests like yourself here. I can't believe you're back on. This is wonderful.
Well, thank you for having me.
For those that don't know anything about yourself as a creative person, tell us who you are and what you're bringing to Two Geeks Talking today.
Okay. I'm mainly on today to talk about Caption Comics Festival, which has been on hiatus since 2017. But I'm bringing it back in 2025 with the theme Rebirth, and our mascot is a phoenix. So Caption started in 1992 and ran for 25 years. And at the time, it was the longest running UK comics festival. And yep. It has it's primarily to do with like independent comics, self-publishing and that sort of thing. So it's very accessible, and I mean that in every way, in terms of platforming people who wouldn't necessarily have a voice, and also being very accessible to disabled and neurodivergent people. I'm also still making Epic Fail slowly, alongside other projects. I tend to do start art classes from home in my studio in Oxford, and various projects on the go, making like small comics and zines, which I self-publish.
That's awesome. I love it. 14 years is a long time. When you were last on here, Epic Fail was your baby. It's a great comic for those that haven't got a chance to read it, and hopefully you get to put together a trade paperback of it itself here. What's the most surprising way that indie comics has changed for better or worse in these past 14 years?
Well, in terms of the convention scene, I somewhat feel that they've been pushed out a bit in favor of like movie franchises, particularly in the UK. Comics Village will often be somewhere at the back in the shadows. One of my reasons for kind of getting behind Caption 2025 is to give a space for indie comics, and where creators are kind of front and center, and the comics are the thing rather than the more commercial ventures.
It's pretty amazing how the TV and film industry has just taken over comic cons, and
Yeah.
it's great in a sense that you get multimedia, but it's horrible for indie creators to just get their name out there because everyone's looking for the actors and actresses.
And some people don't even know the comics are there.
The fact that Rebirth is a great theme, I think, when it comes to comic conventions, because we get a resurgence of them from time to time, and it's great to see that Caption UK is coming back, and that's wonderful to see. What was Caption like in the first 25 years versus what you're trying to bring back today with the rebirth of Caption?
We're trying to kind of bring it back in as faithful a way as possible, bringing back the best things that were a part of the convention. It was started by Adrian Cox, Damien Cudgley, Jeremy Day, and Jenny Scott. Started as like a student Oxford Student Union thing, and always been very sort of grassroots, quite rebellious and disruptive. And one of the key things is that we don't have any sales tables. None of the creators are stuck behind tables being salesy.
Okay.
Their guests, along with everybody else, can go to the workshops and the talks and just hang out and chat. Meanwhile, we have a community sales table that is run by volunteers, and literally anybody can put their comics there who is going to the festival. They don't have to be well known, they don't have to have done it before. We're quite happy, somebody's just made their own on a photocopier or whatever. For a lot of people, it's and hopefully this is the case with this year's festival, is that it gets people's feet wet in self-publishing. Certainly, I know a lot of creatives actually got their start at Caption.
That's amazing. Yeah. So what's one thing that Caption does well compared to, say, other indie focused cons?
Well, so one of the things that is very important to us is accessibility. We've always been quite, focused on that, and we've even done a fundraiser for getting somebody a new wheelchair, and always make sure we're wheelchair accessible. And this year in particular, half of our committee is autistic, including myself. We want to make sure that the space is accessible for neurodivergent people. It's always been, shall we say, a little bit better than most conventions for that, because it's a kind of more quiet, chilled out environment. But in this case, we're going to actually have a exclusive kind of quiet space that people can go to recover from sensory overload, or just anybody who needs a quiet break.
What's the schedule for Caption UK? Like, if I were to visit England, when should I go?
Thank you. So we do have all the details confirmed now. It took us a while, partly because we were starting from scratch with absolutely zero budget. So we had to do an Indiegogo fundraiser in order to get, to actually have enough to hire a venue and such. And I should say that all the committee members are volunteers. Caption is a CIC, so none of us are paid. It's a love child. So the dates for the festival are the 16th and 17th of August 2025, and the location is Seacourt Hall, Botley in Oxford. To get your tickets, you can get those from captionfestival.co.uk.
Since you're starting from scratch, have you run other organizations or other conventions? Like, what is your background in terms of putting this all together, and what are you learning running this convention, or rebirthing this convention, I should say, for the first time after 25 years?
Well, I actually took a course on running events, so that's because well, I was kind of thinking about doing it, and I was like, I might need to know something about this. So I have a small qualification. I also was on the Caption for committee for 2 years. I think I already mentioned that I run my own art school in Oxford, which is called Start Art Classes. And, so from like workshop point of view, I've got that covered. I know what I'm doing there. The rest of it is a little bit on the new side.
Awesome.
And I've never, literally none of us have ever run an Indiegogo before or anything like that. This is, kind of new territory for us, and we're learning as we go along.
So what were you offering for the Indiegogo campaign in terms of promotion or perks? And are you going to be doing this like on a yearly basis because you are a not-for-profit organization?
So largely for the Indiegogo, what we were doing was, offering event tickets as the main reward, some with optional extra perks attached to them, and also festival t-shirts. Because we always have a festival t-shirt every year with a unique design. This year's designed by me, largely so that it was free to design. And I also need to get up on the website our kind of backlog of older t-shirts that, sort of your last chance to buy those before they go out of stock. Because we have some great ones from previous years, and we only have like maybe 5 of each design or something like that left. Really vintage stuff.
Sounds like you could raffle them off during the
Yeah,
convention as
yeah,
well, too.
yeah.
That might be a possibility.
And for volunteers, we're kind of giving free entry and free t-shirts as like a thank you for volunteering.
So, in terms of guests, are there any notable guests for this convention or festival, I should say? Is there certain panels that you're excited about showcasing, either by yourself or by other creators? Like, what can we expect as soon as we like walk into the door?
Oh yes, hell yeah. We've got some exciting things, and we've got some panels confirmed and more to come. So we've got Six to Watch, which is a panel hosted by Broken Frontiers Andy Oliver. And for that, we're having Cara Brown, creator of Everything's Fine, Mike Armstrong, creator of Rose Thornhill and also Troll Bridge, Dominic Duong, creator of The Cat and the Dog, and Shane Meliss, creator of They're Coming Down the Stairs. And I do apologize if I butchered anybody's names there. It's I am also a little bit dyslexic, so it does not help in the
What's the vibe that people are going to get as soon as they walk into the door for the first time, bringing this convention back? Like, I love comic conventions because it's just, there's an energy about a festival or convention that you just can't get anywhere else, even by walking into a movie theater. It's something different that is kind of unique, I think, to the nerd geek culture.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing that kind of blew me away at Caption in the past is the fact that you could just be like chatting to somebody, either just casually or, you're doing a workshop together, and then you find out who they are and you find out what they make, and you're just like, wow. And it's you can make friends with amazing people and make connections that you just massively weren't expecting. And the sales table is it's a treasure trove, because some of the books are literally handmade, like works of art that are one of a kind, and you would not ever be able to get hold of any other way, and you go away with something incredibly special. And then there are workshops. This year, we're, very, very much kind of trying to educate and lead people sort of gently into self-publishing, and and being, quite, this is how you do it. There'll be lots of creators telling like their story of how they started, and I hope one of the things people will take away is that there is no one route in on your creative journey. It's going to all be kind of a path that you kind of make for yourself, and everybody's journey is different, and that is okay. So I'm going to kind of segue back into panels and like listing off what we're going to do this year. So we've got a panel called The Long and the Short of It, which is discussing the creation of long and short form comics. And that's got guests Beck Kubrick, Paul Rainey, and Lucy Sullivan. We've also got True Lives, The Stories We Tell, which is a panel on autobiographical comics, with creators Chris Shepherd of Anfield Road, from Titan Comics, Cara Brown, creators of Everything's Fine. She's also on Six to Watch. Zara Slatterly, creator of Coma, published by Myriad, and Lucy Sullivan, creator of Barking. hosted by Barry Renshaw of Engine Comics. So a lot of really awesome people. Yeah, this is all kind of quite UK based, yeah. And we also have 15s, which is, part of our kind of giving platform to people who wouldn't necessarily be able to have one otherwise. And it's your 15 minutes of fame. So a series of back-to-back presentations in 1 hour, where essentially anyone can put themselves up for it, armed with a marker pen and a flip chart, and just kind of talk about their area of expertise and their stuff.
What's your capacity for attendance? What's the amount of guests that you have registered? And how many days is the convention itself?
Okay, so our capacity is 200. The guests we have confirmed are about 10 at this stage. We've sold roughly 50 tickets. We might also consider those people guests because we don't really have like a massive separation. It's that's a special caption thing. It will be running for 2 days.
This is just the start of a larger journey for you. You have a great team around you. Who are some of the team besides yourself organizing this that have helped put this all together? Because I think that's apropos for giving credit where credit's due, because it's not just one person doing all of this.
No, and it's definitely a thing. I could not ever do it on my own. It's the community is so important. The people on the committee at the moment is Andy Luke, like poet and comic creator, was at least 5 years on the caption committee before, so he's probably the most experienced. Emily Brady, who's currently my colorist for Epic Fail, and also works on the webcomic Footloose. Okay. Barry Renshaw, who works in comics and illustration, and is just on so many projects that I can't say, and particularly been helpful because we're trying to get some Arts Council funding that would be like really helpful, and hopefully we will qualify for that. Matt Chambers, who is a YouTuber, particularly in the Doctor Who scene, and Vicky Bernard, who is an autistic advocate and very much on the kind of experienced care side and looking after, our accessibility needs.
I love that you have a great team around you. I love the fact that you're championing the indie comic scene and you have so many amazing panels here. But it's got to be difficult putting this all together, team aside. How are you handling everything here? Are you overloaded? Are you excited? Like, what are your emotions as you're ramping up to get this convention out?
Well, I'm really excited about it. We briefly touched on the differences between like old and new conventions, and also how often they are quite, should we say, busy and stressful, and Caption is a lot more chill, which it's basically been the one convention I, as an autistic person, has been able to go to without getting completely overwhelmed. So that's one of the reasons that I wanted to bring it back, and also so much easier travel wise if it's just in my city. So it's a case of comic conventions don't really suit me. I'm going to make my own comic convention, or rather bring this one back that actually suited me. We have had some clashes on the committee and that, and having to smooth things over, make sure everybody is on the right track, which is, it's amazing how great and reliable everybody has been, and also they've been really helping to take the burden off me in terms of, well, I'm self-employed, so I'm kind of used to just trying to do everything single-handedly. When you've got a team around you, it's like, oh, actually, I can do that bit. And it's like, oh, thank goodness.
I love
And
it.
relying on everybody's, individual expertise.
It's hard being a solo creator. It's hard being a solo entrepreneur. It's hard being self-employed. Um,
hmm hmm
people online make it look easy, and it really isn't. There's all the underlying aspects.
No,
There's
I mean, one of the kind of things that, shall we say, was a bit of a dramatic moment. Here I am ready to launch the Indiegogo, and it wants identity confirmation. And we'd registered it, as a business account, and we hadn't had our CIC status through yet, largely because we had no money to pay for it, because that's partly what we needed the Indiegogo for. Could not verify the identity, could not publish the campaign. So I had to create it up as recreate it as an individual campaign instead, verify my identity and copy and paste everything across like on the night it was supposed to go live. That
oh,
was quite stressful.
yeah, for sure. That's
hmm
amazing. Small press comics thrive on do-it-yourself energy. What's one low-budget, high-impact tactic you've seen creators use here to stand out?
Well, I think honestly, the leveraging your community is the best thing you can do, and also connecting with people and asking for help. And I'll say this: people are often very reluctant to do this, but scientifically speaking, it's a great thing to do to ask for help and show your vulnerability. It's hard, but it actually makes people like you more. So never be afraid to do that. If you don't talk to people and if you don't put yourself out there, then you're basically, counting yourself out and saying no to yourself and your work before anybody else does. You've got to give other people the opportunity and the faith to actually say yes to you. So you've got to dare.
It's hard putting yourself out there, though.
It is.
It's the fear of rejection, the fear of,
Mhm.
are they going to like exactly what I do? Am I worthy enough of this person's attention, whether I know them or not? It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I think, again, coming back to that sales table, a lot of people are surprised that they'll just be like, oh well, I'll just put my work out there and I will see, and they're not expecting to sell anything, and then they'll have somebody who's bought their comic and comes up to them and said, oh wow, did you make this? And starts a conversation.
The fact that you've been in comics, the fact that you're running this organization and this festival, and you get recognized like that, whether it's from your comic or whether it's an interaction you've had with a person, or maybe it's a fan of yours that you didn't realize you had, does that still surprise you?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that always surprised me was that I tend not to have like a photo of myself out on social media. I have like a cartoony
Mhm.
version, and people recognize me from that cartoony avatar. And I'm
Mm.
deeply impressed by that.
It's lifelike. It's like I'm looking in a mirror. Go figure, even though it looks nothing like me.
Yeah, and it's also I went to a indie book fair recently, and I was probably one of the only people there that had handmade, comic books. And I had some people say to me that I was like the best thing there, and that's always nice to hear, isn't it? And I think, in this day and age of like mass production and that sort of thing, people really do appreciate a handmade project and buying directly from the artist.
Yeah. No, but it shows creativity, it shows ingenuity, it shows the ability to use limited resources for what you want to put together and what you want to create. I've interacted with a lot of creators that still create zines, even though they have
Yeah.
hardcover published books or
Yeah,
whatever.
I create zines. Yeah, love zines. That's almost a connection to your question about low cost way to put yourself out there. Just get a printer and a staple gun, and you're ready to go and make your own books.
There's a lot of conventions and a lot of festivals out there, especially in the UK. I don't know. I know of a couple myself because I've interacted with other creators, obviously in the comic scene for the past 16 years. So obviously I've run into them. But what other festivals have a similar vibe to Caption, but you're just that one step above, you feel?
Oh, that's difficult. Largely because I forget what they're all called, and I have a terrible memory. So I think the main one that we would probably compare ourselves to is Thought Bubble.
Okay.
We're not exactly the same,
Right.
but they're yeah, they would be the most similar.
Is there something from these Comic Cons that you've been to, whether it's UK or whether it's international, that you'd like to bring to Caption UK, either this year or next year, that just would fit your model?
Mostly the people and the community. It is a case of, I love the fact that, everybody's not stuck behind tables, because I've definitely had that experience of being stuck behind a table and then hearing some excellent panel
Yeah.
that is going on elsewhere. And I'm going, I would really love to be at that panel, but I can't because I have to be here and I have to be selling.
Yeah.
One of the things we're offering, which I think will be immensely useful for people and hopefully improve their confidence sort of going ahead, is free portfolio reviews, which would be 20-minute slots throughout the day. People can meet professionals like Shane Chibsey of Scar Comics. Lucy Sullivan of Barking, Andy Oliver, Broken Frontier, Beck Kubrick of Dead Girls, Chris Shepherd of Anfield Road, and Zara Slatterly of Coma. They've all volunteered to do the portfolio reviews. I say they're free, they're not agenda driven. It's sort of how to work out, what you want to achieve and how to succeed in your own unique way. And we're having workshops as well. I'll be running one specifically on bookmaking and bookbinding, so that can do those beautiful handmade books. Because it's actually it's not very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody can do it. We'll be having practical zine making workshops. We're looking for like a game making workshop as well. There's some other to be announced panels for which we're kind of looking for people to be on them, which would be creating safe spaces within fandom, history of webcomics and webcomics today, how to survive in an algorithm focused climate, the threat to AI art, writing and copyright law. And I'll be running this next one, which is the not safe for work comics panel, which is one that I feel like possibly particularly online, because it's difficult to even get hosted sometimes, is that they often get pushed out of the scene quite often. They can be very, sex positive and really, good representation, and rather get vilified wrongfully.
Let's touch on AI quickly here, because that's a huge topic in general. I was on a panel with a couple of podcasters, about seven of us, about a couple of months back. We talked about how AI could be used from a podcasting standpoint. I saw the lawsuits, obviously, with AI being sued by various comic creators, class action suits regarding the scraping of comics.
Yeah, good for them.
Yeah, to feeding these horrible algorithms. And maybe this is touching on the panel you'll be speaking or you'll have on at your festival. But how can comic creators, whether they're indie or professionals, protect themselves from an AI standpoint? Just a couple of points.
So I've been looking into this because I got all of my comics scraped, and also quite a lot of my fine art pieces as well, hundreds of pieces. And it felt really violating, like particularly when you find out what happens then is they just get added to the pile, which is just so disrespectful. And there's zero consent. In my case, all of my work was taken from my own website, So, people are often quite like, oh, well, if you don't want to get scraped, then don't put it on social media and that sort of thing. It's like my own website with very clear like copyright statement on it. They scraped it off that, so nowhere is safe. There are a few things you can do at the moment, which is there are a few kind of filters that you can put on, which are called nightshade and glaze. So Nightshade is an AI poison that is designed to kind of disrupt the image recognition so that they essentially get it wrong and have weird outputs. And Glaze is a protective filter that is supposed to disrupt them sort of taking it at all. One of the problems with this is that it tends to make your art look kind of funky and not entirely how you might want it to look. It actually works slightly better on kind of very painterly projects because it blends in a bit more. But artwork that's very kind of smooth, it makes look kind of rough. There's also oh, I'm trying to remember what it's called. It's an AI trap where it's kind of like a link trap that you can kind of send them through, where it'll be the robots will be looking at your website and it will follow this link that will give it a lot of trash into its algorithm. Nice. So that's another way you can protect your work, or at least make it more difficult for AI to replicate it because it will have a lot of trash in its system. Nice. It's yeah, I think that's mostly it. You can put in your robot's text something that says, no, I don't, grant permission for AI. But the problem is that I'm not sure how much attention is paid to that. And, websites will probably get scraped regardless. Yeah. And in many cases, it has happened, already. And they've already not got permission. So, and in my case, with Epic Fail, I've stopped updating online for now. And I'm thinking I will probably just put all the comics into a book and do them in a Kickstarter so that the new comics are not going to get scraped from that. And it's just a case of following the law, which, to be honest, the copyright law basically is on the artist's side. It just needs to be enforced, in my opinion, which is that if somebody is using your artwork in their software, which is what is happening, then they are A, supposed to have permission, and B, supposed to pay you. That is what needs to be enforced here.
I'm curious, because you're doing your own, you have your own art studio, you have your own, you're running this festival, you've obviously been creating Epic Fail. Are you being creative in other avenues or other aspects that you maybe haven't shared online?
Yes. So I should probably say there's a lot of teaching that goes on locally. I'm going to be running a watercolor landscapes course, and I do those quite regularly. They're my most popular courses. Also, every summer I do an urban sketching course, which is also really popular, which is a kind of tutoring in the studio. Followed by going out on location and drawing from life. It's just an incredible amount of fun. In fact, I've kind of absorbed that into part of my regular practice, in that going down to a cafe and drawing people is one of the things that I do. And that's probably going to turn into a book at some point. It's already a zine, which is called Artiface, which is one of my self-published zines, which is just a collection of some of the drawings that I've done. But I also want to turn it into an art instruction book that will be about, portraiture and how to capture a likeness. Because honestly, I've been looking for portraiture books that are about that, and I cannot find any. So it seems like it is my job, I often say, I do teach portraiture classes as well. I often say that portraiture is easy. We see faces everywhere, like two dots and a line, and you've got a face, right? Especially in comics,
Mm,
like faces are easy,
yeah.
but getting like a specific face, a specific person, that is the difficult bit. So I kind of feel like, that is what the portraiture book should really be about. And usually that, that's not it. It's just like, this is how you draw a human, how you draw a specific human.
That's the one thing I stayed away from when I went back to university for fine art and communication media and film. I did not do figure drawing well. I was easier to be the figure to be drawn than it was for me to do the drawing. So
Oh yeah, yeah, I used to do life modeling.
mhm,
I
good
was
times.
probably doing that, when I was interviewing with you 14 years ago.
Yeah, I did the same thing for like 3 out of my 4 years of university. It was good money. I mean, hey, you just
Oh,
have
it
to
wasn't
stand
good
around.
money here, but it was at least easy work to get.
Yeah.
You get really fit to doing it.
For me, it was like, okay, I'm X amount of weight. I'm always going to be this tall. Let's try to get a little more fitter than I am. So
Yeah.
no more McDonald's.
Um, I found it like really good from a, sort of seeing myself
Mhm.
from, other people's point of view, because I'm quite self-critical of my appearance. But when somebody draws you and they're kind of putting in all the light and the shadow and all that, and you look at what they've done and you just go, oh, that's way more beautiful than I see myself. Like even the not so great, artists is like still that's better than my self image. So yeah, it was really, really positive experience.
Everyone has one person that inspired them on their path to where they are today. Who was that for you?
So I think in terms of comics, it's a webcomic creator called Colby Purncell. Have you had her on your show?
The name's familiar to me.
So she made a webcomic called Lint.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I've had it way back. Oh, geez, yeah, that's
Yeah, yeah, it was way back. Let's just say the comic goes online and offline, and whether you can still access it at the moment, I'm not sure. But, it was really inspirational, particularly because you could really see her artistic process and progress throughout the project. Yeah, seeing the sort of pencil work that the comics start out with at the beginning and the really much more finessed artwork the project ended up with at the end was really inspiring. Encouraged me to start my own webcomic, and she probably has no idea.
really 2008, 2009. I think was the last time. Was the only time I had her on the show.
Hmm. Hmm.
And this is what I love. You reached out to me here, and I'd been
Hmm.
thinking of like everyone that I'd talked to in the past, and I kind of want to re go back and bring these people back and see where they've been and where they are.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see that you're doing so well with this convention and with everything like that. And I do hope wonderful success, especially for this for sure. So keep it
Oh, thank
going.
you. I think it's the kind of, creative slash artist superpower in that you sort of go, I have an idea in my head and I can make it happen.
Professional standpoint, you are successful. You've created epic fail for many years. You are now recreating, or bringing back, I should say, Caption UK Small Press Festival, and that's a
Yeah.
wonderful success in my opinion. And I hope to see many more years of this in the future. So,
Yeah.
from a professional standpoint, you are successful. Do you consider yourself personally successful?
I would say yes. I am always coming up with new projects. Some of them I finish, and I try to stay true to my values. I also have some experience with kind of helping out in various ways in kind of wider context. For example, I volunteer for clinical trials on a regular basis. Don't tell my parents.
Mhm.
They hate it. Uh, this helps to create vaccines and save a lot of lives. So I'm very, very proud of that. I've also recently qualified as an Oliver McGowan autism trainer, which is about training healthcare providers to basically know how to adapt to people with autism or learning disabilities and try to have more health equality in that regard, because about 50% of that demographic die avoidable deaths in healthcare.
The reverse of success is failure. How do you deal with your failures?
Oh, um, well, it's I mean, my comic is called Epic Fail. So, self-deprecating humor is probably a big part of that. It, as part of that project, I also ended up gathering a huge like archive of quotes about failure that kind of point to, your failures are actually a part of success. I didn't fail. I just tried something that didn't work. Now I know what to do, adjust for next time. I think know thyself. For example, my autism diagnosis has kind of helped me because I'm no longer sort of trying to be neurotypical or not accept myself or hold myself up to standards that I can't fulfill. So know thyself, very important. Playing to your strengths and yeah, I would say that.
The younger generation is looking at your work and they're becoming inspired to be creative in their own way, whether it's as a comic creator or maybe they want to run their own festival in the future. Maybe you're inspiring them down that path. How can they inspire the generation that follows them?
Oh, well, volunteer for us, please. Please, we need volunteers. But I think the main thing I would say is to forge your own path. Don't really, try playing too much to just being super popular, because that kind of ends up with everything being the same. And what's really going to play for you is originality and bringing something new and telling your own story. Yeah, just bringing something new to the table.
If your life was a comic, what would its title be? And what would its soundtrack be?
Ah, I think. Well, oh, it's difficult because I feel that there's like several aspects of my life that could possibly be a comic, and there's probably a few that are already like heading that way. I'm working on one, for example, that is about one of my part-time jobs that is to do with women's health, and the working title for that one is Cervix with a Smile.
Okay. Good wordplay.
So that's like showing like one aspect of my life, and another one that I'm probably going to do sometime is one about chronic migraine, because that's something that I've suffered with since I was about 14 years old. Yeah, quite an important thing to talk about. Okay, working title for that one is My Head is Killing Me. Weirdly enough, my mentor has actually been having me sort of draw comics about like future me and what I would like see for my future journey. Not intending to publish those, but you never know. And that's more on the kind of creative art, side of things. But yes, probably lots of comics about different aspects of my life. Maybe an anthology called Let's Do This.
There you go. That works.
Soundtrack. Tricky. Probably something by David Bowie, because I love David Bowie.
Well, unfortunately, Amy, that ends this particular episode of Two Geeks Talk. I want to thank you so much for coming back on the show, I should say.
Oh, thank you so much for letting me speak.
before I let you go, where can we find you? How can we support you? Of course, where is the Caption UK? When is it? And anything else you'd like to promote?
Okay, so let's do the captiony stuff first because that's most important. Well, I say, um, I consider it more important than my rubbish. Caption, you can find out what it's all about and book tickets at captionfestival.co.uk. The dates are the 16th and 17th of August 2025, which is a weekend, and that will be taking part at Seacourt Hall in Oxford. And the theme is rebirth, and we will be accepting comic submissions for our festival booklet. So anybody can submit to this. And if you have been published before, great. If you haven't, also great. Get your feet wet. In terms of my stuff, the easiest way probably to find all of my stuff is to go to amulets.com because that's my kind of personal hub that like Linktree, but not, which is AMULETTS, and that leads to my comics, my artworks, and all that. And you can find me on social media at Amy Letts Art on all popular platforms, but not X.
All other social media platforms except the dumpster fire.
Yeah, except the dumpster fire, exactly.
Well, like I said, that ends this particular episode of Two Geeks Talking. You can, of course, find this interview and 1,200 plus others not on our website because that is completely borked. Because I am only one person. It's been borked for about 10 years now, but no one really cares about that. So, except me. You can definitely find all of our interviews on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/TGT Media. The podcast you can find at Two Geeks Talking. That's TWO, not the number 2, TWO, geekstalking.podbean.com, or just search Two Geeks Talking wherever you get your podcasts. And as I say every week, everyone has a story to tell. It's up to me to help bring that out. Thanks for listening and watching on Two Geeks Talking.